sa sangginikanan, makatapos ang eskwela ang ilang kabataan. Kay kung graduado sa kurso, may tinapusan, masanag ang buwas damlak, maayo ang kahintangan.
Sa pagdilig sa kurso, ato na pamangkuton, ang ato na ugalingon, okay bala, init sa ako. Ang masunod na lanton, kapangon, binigon, ang klase sa eskwelahan, na di kalidad ang edukasyon. Balik na pa mo, mag-enroll kang mag-eskwela sa kolehiyo, mapulot sa esperansa. Kay kung ikaw mapisan, pag may pagtuon. St. Therese-MTC College, ang eskwelahan ninyo. Balik na ka mo, mag-enroll kag mag-eskwela sa kolehiyo, napulos ang esperansa. Kay kung ikaw mapisan, pag may pagtuon. St. Therese-MTC College, ang eskwelahan ninyo. Balik na ka mo, mag-enroll kag mag-eskwela sa kolehiyo, napulos ang esperansa. Kay kung ikaw mapisan, pag may pagtuon. St. Therese-MTC College, St. Therese-MTC College, St. Therese-MTC College, your passport to the
As COVID-19 continues to extend its global reach, the impact is being felt in every corner of the world. And of course, the maritime industry is no exception. While there are hopeful developments to point to, at the epicenter of the outbreak, the maritime industry as a whole still has many challenges ahead. This is the new normal that we need to embrace. In celebration of the National Maritime Week, the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions, ARNET Visayas, in cooperation with the Women in Maritime Philippines Western Visayas Chapter, present the 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Colloquium Online 2020 with the theme Sustainable Shipping for a Sustainable Planet. To start with, may I request everyone to join us and feel the presence of our Almighty Father through a prayer, the Philippine National Anthem, and the Wimafil Hymn.
Father in heaven, we come before you to honor your most holy name. We thank you for the gift of life you have given us. We humbly seek your forgiveness for our sins and imperfections. Give us strength to overcome the fear, anxiety, and difficulties brought by this pandemic. Shield us with your mercy, as we face this life's battle against uncertainty and distress. Protect us from harm, as we perform our duties with contentment. Bless our families with your love, as we leave them to fulfill our noble task. Comfort us with your kindness, that we may be equipped with the strength to grow our minds amidst vulnerability. Provide us rest and relief from the threat we face. Grant those who lead us with wisdom, courage and decisiveness, that they may inspire us to do more and become more. Guide our thoughts so that we will walk with wisdom to make things in accordance to your will. Father in heaven, help us to excel in all our endeavors. These we offer, in your holy name, forever. Amen.
Kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, teres ng sigananan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang binirang, kuya ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo pagaw, ay hinatang tulakaw.
To give her opening remarks on the rationale of the colloquium, we have the ever-dynamic Vice President of the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions, Arnet Visayas, at the same time the President of the Women in Maritime Philippines Western Visayas Chapter, and currently the President of St. THERESE-MTC Colleges, Dr. Maria Teresa S. Sarabia.
Honorable Jerry Treñas, City Mayor of Iloilo City, Director Jose Venancio Vero Jr., Regional Director Marina, Engineer Eduardo Goles, Port Manager PPA PMO Iloilo, Commodore Edgar Boado PCG, District Commander Coast Guard District Western Visayas, Engineer Felix Oca, President Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions, panel of paper reviewers, research paper presenters, distinguished guests, friends, students, participants to the 4th Visayas MARC Colloquium 2020 online, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the 4th Visayas MARC Colloquium 2020 online. We are happy that despite the pandemic, we are continuing with the 4th Visayas MARC Colloquium, and we have 9 research presentations. Something new this year is that we have 7 poster research presentations. The rationale for this colloquium are, first, to be able to collate the researches in maritime and to present it in a journal form to concerned maritime agencies such as the Maritime Industry Authority, the Philippine Coast Guard, the Philippine Ports Authority, and the Commission on Higher Education, to name a few. The pandemic took everyone by surprise, and many had to adapt overnight to the effects of the pandemic. Innovations had to be done, hoping to mitigate the spread of the disease while continuing with our daily lives in the new normal. As such, the second rationale of this colloquium is to propose researches which will help us analyze whether the innovations that we implemented were effective. Inspired by the summary of results of the survey on the impact of and response to COVID-19 by the IAMU member universities, the following researches are recommended to be conducted effective September 24, 2020. This can be tandem researches done by MHAIs. The first research proposal is about the measures adopted by maritime higher education institutions in Western Visayas due to the coronavirus 19 or COVID-19 and its effect on the students' motivation to enroll. The second is the innovative pedagogical measures adopted by maritime higher educational institutions in Western Visayas and its effectiveness. The third is the challenges encountered, solutions adopted by the maritime higher educational institutions in Western Visayas and its effectiveness. The fourth is the practical training sessions, the innovative measures adopted by maritime higher educational institutions and its effectiveness. The fifth is the onboard training program challenges due to the coronavirus disease 19 or COVID-19, the solutions adopted by the maritime higher educational institutions and its effectiveness, and the sixth is the public policy regarding coronavirus disease 19 and its effect on the viability of maritime higher educational institutions. These proposed researches were already floated during the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions or PAMI board meetings and have been shared to some of the maritime schools. We are happy that as of date, there are responses to conduct some of these researches recommended. And we are hoping that some of the researches will be finished before the PAMI convention so that we can share the findings and the recommendations. Again, welcome to the 4th Visayas MARC presentation and congratulations to everyone who made this activity possible, most especially to Mrs. Mylene Hainga, the Research and Development Coordinator of St. Therese-MTC Colleges, the PAMI, headed by Engineer Felix Oca, President, for sponsoring the payment of our panel of reviewers and the tokens for our oral research presenters, to Marina for sponsoring the other expenses related to this activity, and to all the research panel reviewers, presenters, and participants to this 4th Visayas March Research Colloquium. Without all of you, this event would not have been possible. Maraming salamat po. Good day and God bless us all.
To welcome us in this worthy endeavor, let's listen to the message of the Director of the Maritime Industry Authority, Regional Office 6, and the lead agency of this year's National Maritime Celebration, Director Jose Venancio A. Vero Jr.
Guests, resource speakers, maritime training centers and institutions, maritime stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to each and everyone. It is such a remarkable occasion that we are all gathered here in this afternoon for this colloquium of this productive community. We may not be aware that the sea plays a major role in the national and global training amidst this pandemic. The seafarers are the ones sacrificing their health and safety and the time that they should spend with their families. They have imparted huge contribution as the shipping continue to transport supplies like medicines, food, and basic goods that are needed for the COVID-19 pandemic response. The same with our seafarers. Other professions are taking part in keeping with this bizarre livelihood. Our teachers who dedicate their labors in providing quality education through modular, online, and blended learning, and the students of furnish school publication in order to give and disseminate helpful information. Applause to all those who exerted time and effort. Most of us are scared and anxious to the circumstances surrounding us. Who would have thought that we all be here today with all these protective gears, such as masks and face shields? Still, I appreciate all of your undying efforts in making this event possible. Despite the strict protocols and precautionary measures, we still manage to spare time and give importance to the subjects and matters that we're about to tackle. Through this talk, we'll be able to get updated and informed on the new normal policies, educational struggles, theoretical thoughts, advantages, and benefits of each one of us who are part of this profession society. We seldom sit together and talk about these kinds of topics. And because of the great minds who brainstorm, and we are all here together to share each other's knowledge and understanding about these matters. So to formally open this symposium, I would like to welcome you, all of you, in this 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Colloquium. Good afternoon.
Our next speaker to give his welcome message is an electrical engineer, an educator, and a father. He holds his various memberships in the Philippine Instrumentation and Control Society, Maritime Lecturers Association of the Philippines, Philippine Overseas Employment Agency, Commission on Higher Education, Institution for Engineering, Science, and Technology, He is a Ched Marina Technical Panel for Maritime Institutions, currently the Vice President of the Maritime Academy of Asia and the Pacific and the President of the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions. Let us all welcome Engineer Felix M. Oca.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to one and all. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome and to congratulate the PAMI Arnet Visayas, headed by Dr. Maria Teresa S. Sarabia, in cooperation with the Maritime Industry Authority and Women in Maritime Philippines Western Visayas Chapter, in organizing and conducting this 4th Visayan Maritime Research Cooperation Online Colloquium as part of the National Maritime Week celebration. We salute every participant that despite this pandemic, they undoubtedly share their research papers and have a sense of normalcy for a sustainable maritime industry. The pandemic caused by COVID-19 should never stop us, and let's not allow this pandemic to distract us from reality and use these research findings and recommendations to make the lives of everyone better. PAMI, our organization, the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions, encourages everyone to strengthen the research aspect of each and every institution. Having data in all its studies is very important. Sa anumang argumento, mas lamang ang may datos. It's very important to make very good, clear decisions based on data. We at PAMI will support the initiatives of its member institutions who will undertake researches that are beneficial to maritime education, as PAMI will always be true to its mission: develop data-driven educational and professional programs, initiatives for maritime leaders, and actively participate in setting national and international academic standards through strong linkages. In the upcoming year, PAMI will be hosting a National Research Colloquium, and we encourage all researchers to participate, especially in this term condition of pandemic. How can we deal with such a situation? Without further ado, again, a warm welcome to all guests and participants in the 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Online Colloquium. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Our keynote speaker is a public servant and married to Miss Rosalie Sarabia with 3 children. Earned his Bachelor of Laws with honors at the Ateneo Law School in 1982 and placed 11th in the bar examination on the same year with an average of 88%. He served as Congressman of the Lone District of Iloilo from 2010 to 2019. His advocacy program during the pandemic are enhanced community quarantine, facilitated the giving of relief goods, especially bread, in partnership with the city bakers. After all, he has become the good person he is now because of the good values of all these things. It is with great privilege to introduce the Honorable Mayor of Iloilo City, Attorney Jerry P. Treñas.
Dynamic partners in the maritime industry, fellow public servants, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to all. I warmly greet the organizers and participants of the 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Colloquium 2020 online, in line with the National Maritime Celebration. Your theme, Sustainable Shipping for Sustainable Planet, is timely and significant amidst the global health crisis affecting the maritime sector and the overall economy. Iloilo, as a major port city and seafarers' capital, being home to many professionals and academic institutions, is a key player and prime mover in this field of expertise. Giant port development projects are already being in the pipeline to transform promising potentials and growth opportunities by improving infrastructure as well as expanding connectivity and linkages. The city government of Iloilo fully supports every maritime-related development endeavor. We also recognize your vital role in bringing projects, programs, and services with great socio-economic impact for the benefit of the general welfare. Iloilo City is a gateway for smooth sailing economic activities. We should sustain our advantage as a trade and investment hub by ensuring that the maritime sector remains highly efficient and globally competitive. We should be engaging in realizing goals. We should also work together to put in place holistic best practices and successful initiatives. The doors of improvement will undoubtedly open up endless possibilities and explorations of ideas and exchanges for professional enhancement and career advancement. I am confident that you will be able to achieve productive results in this research presentation that will pave the way for more developed approaches and strategies to be applied in the future. We look forward to an active and strong partnership in making waves of continued progress for our beloved city and its people. Let us continue sailing towards prosperity as we recover as one. Thank you and have a fruitful day ahead of you. Uswag, Iloilo.
At this juncture, let us take a quick travel to the so-called City of Love and fall in love with Iloilo City.
Festival, Dinagang Festival!
Here are the rules and guidelines of the 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Colloquium for the research paper presentation. First, the pre-recorded presentation must not be longer than 15 minutes. Second, slides must be included in the recorded video presentation. Third, a maximum of 15 slides is allowed. This must already include the title, author, and affiliation. Fourth, the use of introduction, methodology, results, and discussion format is highly encouraged. Fifth, presentation should be prepared in the widescreen format with a ratio of 16:9 pixels. Sixth, images, figures, videos, and audio will be preferred more over text in PowerPoint presentation. And seventh, focus on knowledge sharing based on video, image, and graphical presentations, which is best if the slides are synchronized with the presentation to facilitate better understanding. The paper presentations were reviewed by our panel of reviewers. Dr. Noel M. Basan, registered psychometrician, a faculty member of the College of Liberal Arts, Sciences, and Education at the University of San Agustin. He is an active psychological practitioner specializing in forensic psychology, focusing on psychological assessment and evaluation involving criminal and civil court cases. He has been active in research in various capacities as a research proponent, advisor, consultant, and collaborator. His current experimental research undertaking concerns about problems in cognitive functioning such as memory, retention, and learning. He as well develops a psychological intervention to address the findings of the study. And we have Dr. Blanquita S. Garcia, a professional consultant with more than 3 decades of experience, has been teaching for more than 4 decades up to present, has extensive experience with research papers, technical writing, and feasibility studies. She earned her Doctor of Philosophy in Crop Breeding and Genetics, minor in Statistics at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Reviewer Evaluator of West Bardec research papers for the past 3 years. Reviewer Consultant of Research Projects of University of Antique and St. THERESE-MTC colleges. Bachelor of various local, national, and foreign funded projects in the field of agricultural sciences, biological science, management, nursing education, medical sciences, public governance, public administration, and education. Recipient of several research awards for winning research papers in the various local and national research symposia, and trainer of research in various training workshops on qualitative and quantitative research and statistics. Now let's go to the highlight of this online colloquium, the research presentation. Our first paper presenter is from John B. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Arevalo, to be presented by Engineer Roderick Hermo, PhD, with a paper entitled The Use of Blended Learning Approach to Improve the Students' Academic Performance in Information, Communication, and Technology.
Good morning, everyone. I am Engineer Roderick R. Hermo, PhD from John B. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Arevalo. I am going to present my study entitled Blended Learning Approach in Improving Student Performance in Information, Communication, and Technology, ICT course. According to Horton 2011, a blended learning approach utilizes electronic technologies to create learning experiences. A common definition is also shared by Clark and Mayer 2016, as to which blended learning approach is delivered through digital devices to support learning itself. Nowadays, many are venturing for the application of cloud computing in delivering a blended learning approach, namely Blended Learning Approach Cloud, according to Masud and Wang 2012. ICT and blended learning approaches have proven to address educational development effectively, as stated by Button, Harrington, and Bellan 2014, for a blended learning approach is in nursing education. Rationale of the study. The introduction of learning approach for maritime education system, especially in the course of ICT. The challenge for modern instruction parallel to the rise of technology. The challenge to deliver quality, low-cost, and effective education for the maritime workforce. The assessment of effectiveness of blended learning approach course to the maritime students. And lastly, to address the challenges of modern shipping in a way of technological education with the help of modern pedagogy, as well as the rapid assimilation of education to the learning maritime workforce supplier of the world. Statement of the problem. Number 1, what are the pre-test scores of the control and experimental group? Number 2, what are the post-test scores of the control and experimental groups? Number 3, is there a significant difference on the pre-test performance between control and experimental groups? Number 4, is there a significant difference of the post-test performance between control and experimental groups? Number 5, is there a significant difference on the pre-test and post-test performance of the experimental groups? Number 6, is there a significant difference on the pre-test and post-test performance of the control groups? Number 7, what is the mean gains of the control group and experimental group? Number 8, is there a significant difference in the mean gains of the experimental and control groups? Number 9, how effective is blended learning approach in terms of student performance in ICT? Methods. The quasi-experimental method of research was utilized to effectively answer the questions relating to the effectiveness of learning approach in improving the student performance in ICT. According to the BID 2005, quasi-experimental design is nearly the same as true experimental design, except that the former does not have restriction of random assignment. Respondents. 2 sections relatively comparable, first year BS Marine Transportation of JBLFMU Arevalo, who were enrolled in the course ICT during the first semester of school year 2019-2020. They were selected through match group design using their general weighted average in the second semester school year 2018-2019. There was a total of 40 students composed of 20 in the experimental group and 20 in the control group. Instrument. A 45-item researcher-made multiple choice that comprises topics from prelim to final topics was used in the study. The questionnaire has undergone validity and reliability testing. Data collection. The data needed for this study were gathered through the use of achievement tests in pre-test and post-test. Pre- and post-tests were administered to both experimental and control group. The tossing of coin was used to determine the experimental and control group. The experimental group was taught according to blended learning approach, while the control group was taught using the traditional lecture class discussion method. The intervention lasted for 5 months, or 18 weeks during the first semester of school year 2019-2020. Data analysis. Number 1, mean, used to determine the student performance in the pre-test and post-test. Number 2, standard deviation, used to determine the level of the student homogeneity in their ICT course performance. Number 3, Mann-Whitney test, used to determine the significant difference in the pre-test and post-test groups in ICT and for the significant difference in the mean gain of the experimental and control group set at 0.05 level of significance. Number 4, Wilcoxon sign rank test, used to determine the significant difference in the pre-test and post-test of two groups in ICT set at 0.05 level of significance. And lastly, we have the effect size that used to determine the effectiveness of the blended learning approach in terms of student performance in ICT. Results. Number 1, it is noted that the experimental and control group registered comparably the same mean score in the pretest, indicating their almost identical cognitive levels before the experiment. This is closely similar with the result of Navalyaska, Domikos, and Atanasio 2007, where the experimental group result a higher mean compared to the control group. Number 2, on the other hand, the control group manifested a higher mean score in the post-test than the experimental group, implying the control group's better performance in ICT after the experiment. In conjunction, Gonzalez, Gomez, Jung, Rodriguez, and Cañada 2016 agrees that blended learning obtains higher result to traditional method. Israel 2015 states the same. Number 3, the table reveals that there is no significant difference in the pretest scores of the experimental and control group. Z is equal to negative 0.971, wherein the p-value is equal to 0.331. Aido, Boateng, Kisi, and Ofori 2016 support the results as pretest denote the constancy of their cognitive capacity. Number 4, the table reveals that there is significant difference in the post-test scores of experimental and control groups. Z is equal to negative 2.90, while the p-value is equal to 0.004. Dickinson 2011 cited the fact that curriculum intervention intensifies learning, which is apparent on the result. Number 5, the table reveals that there is significant difference in the pre-test and post-test score of the experimental group. Z is equal to negative 3.93, wherein the p-value is equal to 0.00. This implies that the experimental group performance after the intervention is significantly better before the intervention. Number 6, Table 6 reveals that there is significant difference in the pre-test and post-test scores of control group. Z is equal to negative 3.94, p-value is equal to 0.00. This also implies that the control group's post-test performance is significantly better than their pre-test performance. Number 7, the table shows that the mean gain in their score in ICT of the control group is higher than the experimental group. The active theme of blended learning stimulates the learner to seek further knowledge. This was evident to Mitzler 2016 and Dickinson 2016. Number 8, the table reveals that there was no significant difference in the mean gains of experimental and control group, wherein Z is equal to negative 1.21, wherein the p-value is equal to 0.226. And lastly, number 9, the effectiveness of the blending learning approach in terms of student performance in ICT was quantified using the effect size. Using the mean and standard deviation in the post-test among the experimental and control groups, the value of the effect size is 1.05. This means that the effect size was large and the intervention was more than 100% effective according to Bartolucci, Tendera, and Howard 2011. and Carson 2012, as well as Ku 2002. In conclusion, the experimental group appeared to have learned significantly better in their ICT lessons after having been subjected to the blended learning approach than the control group. It was shown that the blended learning approach was an effective teaching style in ICT course. In modern pedagogy, where student-centered approach is widely applied, the means of learning of students greatly attribute as to how the subject matter is thoroughly delivered. Triumph to modern and classic pedagogy is attributed to the bond shared between a teacher and a learner with a process that despite the difference of instructional medium. Recommendations. Number 1, blended learning approach is highly recommended for ICT course. Number 2, in view of the significant effectiveness of blended learning approach in teaching, it is highly recommended for use among teachers not only in ICT but of course on other subjects as well. Inventure of the modern pedagogy, utilization of blended learning approach to its utmost must be kept in place as the homeworks and activities which can be performed on the classroom be submitted via blended learning approach sites. Number 4, further or follow-up study may be conducted to verify long-term learning application of blended learning approach and its effects as an intervention. This study also encouraged the application of PBL and OBTL on blended learning approach modules and it's entirely as to assist the cognitive functions of learner-centered pedagogy. Number 5, Maritime School, like JBL FMU or Revalo and other educational institutions should conduct seminar workshop to introduce to the instructor to blended learning approach and should include the methods of assistance in introducing blended learning approach to students. Number 6, entry of blended learning approach must be made of gradual transition as to let the learners adjust from traditional method to blended learning approach. Various studies suggest that abrupt transition may hinder learning as a result. Acknowledgement. Dr. Marilu Lacson Arcelo, Dr. Ronald Raymond Lacson Sebastian, Captain Luis G. Ebedente, Dr. Brian Hill Sarinas, and Shipmate Bermary S. Tan. And these are my references or bibliographical entries. Thank you and God bless everyone.
Our second paper presenter is from VMA Global Colleges and Training Center, Bacolod City, to be presented by Mr. Elmer John E. Basa with a paper entitled Satisfaction and Preferences on Student Publication.
Hello, good afternoon, fellow teachers, educational leaders, and fellow researchers. I am Elmer Jan E. Basa from VMA Global College and Training Centers Incorporated. The title of my research study is Satisfaction and Preferences on Student Publication. I wrote this research last 2018. I am an English teacher at VMA Global College and Training Centers Incorporated from the year 2016 to 2019. I became the moderator of the Wheelhouse, that's the official student publication of VMA, the Anchor for the high school, the Lighthouse Yearbook for college, the Polaris Yearbook for high school. I became the editor-in-chief of the West Negro Torch, West Negros University, now STI West Negros, from 2013 to 2014. I became also the editor-in-chief of the Torchbearer, West Negros University of the same year. Now, for the abstract, the objectives of the study are to reinvent and improve the Wheelhouse publication. The Wheelhouse is the official student publication of VMA. Also, to discover the degree of satisfaction of the students and to determine their extent of preferences. The research design is descriptive, correlational, comparative. And the respondents are 270 student readers. And then the sampling technique is simple random sampling. Statistical tools used for descriptive is mean, comparative analysis, t-test, and ANOVA. Correlational analysis is Pearson R. For the salient findings, the students are satisfied with their school paper and the students' preferred news, features, and opinion. I'll be discussing the results later, and we have two outputs of this study: the Campus Journalism Manual and a publishable dummy of the Wheelhouse publication. Now, the background of the study. Since we have two concepts, it's the degree of satisfaction. This concept is being used for businesses, for products, to determine how satisfied are they, or the customers or the clients. And then the extent of preferences, this is used to determine the scale of the students' wishes or likes as to the journalistic styles, news, features, and opinion. Actually, satisfaction, this is the first research study being applied to a student publication. And then the rationale of this study, we have here Republic Act 7079, are also known as Campus Journalism Act of 1991. This law is, or it mandates and promotes the freedom of the press even on the campus level. And that's why through this law, school paper was established. And also, students are campus press clients. So sila gini ato nga i-satisfy. So that we will be determining if the editorial board of the school paper are doing very well. Now, the gap in literature, no studies on satisfaction level of a school paper being found. That's why the researcher found one study for the preference. So why not I try satisfaction and preferences? That's now the title of my study. For the conceptual framework, I have here the second year to fourth year students, and their variables are sex, that's male and female; course, that's the maritime and the non-maritime, since VMA has non-maritime programs and also maritime programs; and year level. From second year, third year, and to fourth year, they're actually the actual readers of the Wheelhouse publication. Next, for the concept degree of satisfaction, I have here uses and gratifications theory to draw out and to know why students read the school paper. And the indicators are the content, technicalities, and ethics. For the concept extent of preferences of students on printed materials, there is this theory, the expectancy value theory, that would support or what are the preferences of students in terms of news, feature, opinion, content descriptions. And the outcomes of this study are Campus Journalism Manual and Enhance the Wheelhouse publication. For the results, in terms of sex with significant difference, there is a significant difference, which means that the content differs since male and female have different gratification level and preferences or expectation. As we all know, male and female have different perceptions on the student publication. And then they are expecting something else in the student publication. Course, there is no significant difference. It does not necessarily affect their satisfaction level to the content, technicalities, and ethics. In terms of year level, there is a significant difference with technicalities to second year students. Each year level has its own way of perceiving the student publication. So if you are already third year, especially for the maritime, they were already used to see same contents every year, probably in the student publication. And then for the second year, since they are new, probably they are expecting something else. For the extent of preferences of on news, the content description they most preferred are the local or campus news. They really want to know what's going on the campus level. Actually, that's the main purpose of the school paper, to give news, to give updates about the school. And then national news, especially for the maritime, they wanted to know updates on marina, okay, on the government related agency that gives them idea on their particular course. For the feature, they preferred culture, arts, movie, entertainment, reviews, photo essays, campus personalities, okay, and then science and technology, literary articles, inspirational and career success stories, especially in the maritime. They wanted to be inspired of those people who became successful. Next, opinion, the most preferred content description, editorial, which is the opinion of the editorial board, and then the column articles being written by the editor. For the relationship between the degree of satisfaction and extent of preferences, it hereby affirms that through the statistical analysis, these concepts are interrelated. This explains that the satisfaction level would greatly affect our beliefs and preferences. If you're not satisfied, you are expecting something else, and if you are highly satisfied, probably the expectations are achieved or being met. In conclusion, VMA Global College students prefer and seek soft news. Okay, that is light, informative, educational, entertaining, and developmental kind of student publication. Actually, this it vary actually this study varies because of the kind of audience that the school has. If the students are critical, they wanted to see more of editorial or more of opinion. However, they the most preferred content descriptions are really for the features. Mahilig sila sa features, something that is light lang, hindi ka ma-stress. That's why they want to have more features ila sa student publication. Something informative and educational. And then moreover, the researcher recommends ethics to explore for further research, be it in student publication or any printed material being published. The researcher recommends that you can also conduct study focused primarily on the ethical aspect of the school paper or any printed material. These are my references. Thank you for listening. That ends my presentation.
Our third paper presenter is from St. THERESE-MTC Colleges, Magdalo, to be presented by Ms. Maylene S. Sainga with a paper entitled Development of MSUP-Based Review Material in Plane and Spherical Trigonometry.
Good afternoon. I am Maylene S. Sainga of the St. THERESE-MTC Colleges. I will be presenting a paper entitled Development of MSUP-Based Review Material in Plane and Spherical Trigonometry. The abstract of the study. For the objectives of the study, this study will determine the least mastered skills of students in trigonometry. It will determine the level of acceptability of the MSUP-based review material and find out the experiences of the students and experts on the developed material. For the methodology, design research using the ADDIE model was utilized. There are 80 BSMT and BSMARC students and 6 experts in the field of curriculum and instruction and mathematics serve as respondents of the study. The instrument used in the conduct of the study is an 80-item test on the plane and spherical trigonometry and a 35-item level of acceptability questionnaire. The statistical tools used are mean and standard deviation for the quantitative analysis and thematic analysis for the qualitative analysis. Here are the salient findings of the study. The least mastered topics in plane and spherical trigonometry are solutions on right triangle, application of the solution of right triangle in word problems, oblique triangles, the application of the solution of oblique triangles in word problems, right spherical triangles, and solutions of oblique spherical trigonometry. The level of acceptability of the students and experts in relation to the review material is very high. And their experiences on the review material, they are saying that the material is unique, innovative, easy to understand and follow. There is an immediate feedbacking, very effective and flexible. For the conclusion, the review material served its purpose to cater to the needs of the students in taking MSAP. It is flexible, innovative, interesting, and acceptable. And the main output of this study is a review material for plane and spherical trigonometry. The background of the study. It is a common observation that learning mathematics, especially in trigonometry as a discipline, creates a negative feedback to most students in the maritime higher education. Trigonometry is one of the hated subjects in mathematics, which students would likely fail in completing the necessary requirement and get low performances in both academic and conceptual reasoning and problem-solving skills. According to many maritime students, trigonometry learning is never fun and the process is boring and not easy. Thus, students' achievement is relatively low. The Maritime Schools Assessment Program, or MSAP, conducted last March 2017 to all third-year BS Marine Transportation and Marine Engineering students revealed unsatisfactory results. According to the literature by Andreni 2016, the teacher tends to communicate in one direction with many providing material and slightly provide opportunities for learners to interact through performance or verbal communication. If this continues, it will cause students difficulties in learning. Thus, the result will not conform to what is expected. Furthermore, the primary goal of teaching is to provide appropriate and effective instruction to students. Thus, a mathematics instructor is responsible to devise and provide the necessary materials for use in math classes. Also, according to Feliciano 2017, exposure of learners to strategic intervention material, or SIM, improve the knowledge and skills performance of learners, and quality instructional materials and genuine tasks are necessary to facilitate the development of knowledge, skills, and value standards. Thus, this study is conducted. For the framework of the study, this study is anchored on the scaffolding instruction by Vygotsky. It is also anchored on the cognitive load theory of Sweller and on the personalized system of instruction by Keller. There are 4 main objectives of the study. First, This study will determine the least mastered topics of the third-year maritime students in plane and spherical trigonometry. Second, it will identify the MSAP-based review material that can be developed for plane and spherical trigonometry. Third, it will determine the level of acceptability of the developed MSAP-based review material in terms of learning objectives, content, organization and presentation, format and design, learning activities, and assessment as evaluated by the experts and students. Fourth, find out the experiences of the students in the use of MSAP-based review material. Methodology. This research utilized the design research using the ADDIE model, where A stands for analysis, D for design, another D for development, I for implementation, and E for evaluation. For the respondents of the study, during the analysis stage, we utilized 80 BSMT and BS-MARC students given the test in determining the least mastered topics in plane and spherical trigonometry. And during the implementation stage, 78 and BSMT and BS-MARC students evaluated the review material, the developed review material. Also, 6 experts evaluated the acceptability and usability of the developed review material. 2 of them are curriculum development and instructional material development experts, 2 instructors of the plane and spherical trigonometry, and the other 2 are outside experts who are also mathematics instructors. For the instrument of the study, we utilize an 80-item test in plane and spherical trigonometry as utilized in determining the least mastered topics in the subject. And another questionnaire was used in determining the level of acceptability. It consisted of 35 items. For the analysis of data, for the quantitative data, frequency count and percentage, mean, and standard deviation were utilized. For the qualitative data, thematic analysis was used. The data gathering procedure utilizing the ADDIE model. During the analysis stage, we administered the researcher-made test to assess the least learned topics of third-year students in plane and spherical trigonometry. In the design stage, we designed an outline of the MSAP-based material on the data gathered in the analysis stage and the review material. Format of the review material was also determined in this stage. In the development stage, develop the review material for the least learned topics or least mastered topics based on the format and outline in the designing stage. The initial validation of the review material by the experts was done in this stage. During the implementation, the review material was tried out to second-year maritime students. And during the evaluation stage, students and experts evaluated the acceptability of the developed MSAP-based review material. For the results of the study, to answer the objective number 1, the least mastered topics in plane and spherical trigonometry were solution of right triangle, application of solving right triangle in word problems, oblique triangles, application of solving oblique triangles in word problems, application of the concepts and formula on spheres in word problems, right spherical triangles, and the solution of oblique spherical triangle. Second, to answer the MSAP-based review material, so this is a sample, one sample review material based on the least mastered topics. This is actually a solution of right triangle. So we developed a review material based on the format wherein there is a title card, a guide card, an activity card, a reference card, and an assessment card. So this is the format in developing the other review materials based on the least mastered topics. So to answer objective number 3 on the acceptability of the review material, a table is shown. As to the overall acceptability of the review material, it has an overall rating of highly acceptable with a mean of 4.75 and a standard deviation of 0.06. This shows that the review material has excellently met the standards and no revisions is needed. In particular, the students have rated the assessment part as the highest with a mean of 4.87 and a standard deviation of 0.27. In addition, for the experts, the learning objectives obtained the highest with a mean of 4.80 and a standard deviation of 0.45. In terms of the average mean, the highest rating was attributed from the learning objectives with a mean of 4.83 and a standard deviation of 0.04, but the lowest rating was accounted from the format and design with a mean of 4.66 and a standard deviation of 0.15, yet both were highly acceptable. In general, the overall rating of the students in terms of overall acceptability was highly acceptable with a mean of 4.83 and a standard deviation of 0.03. And a similar overall rating of highly acceptable was found out from the experts with a mean of 4.68 and a standard deviation of 0.09. Based on the results, the respondents agreed that the review material is acceptable in terms of learning objectives, content, organization and presentation, format and design, learning activities, assessment, and in terms of its overall rating. This implies that the developed review material is worthy and can serve as a review material that will help students learn and pass the MSAT. This result is in accordance with the study of Robles in 2009, who cited that the development of the learning package was found to be reliable as revealed by the high percentage obtained in the strongly agree category of the instrument. The developed CALP was valid as to its objective, contents, manner of presentation, and usefulness, and therefore could be used as an alternative instructional material for enrichment and remediation. In addition, the findings of this study cohere with the results of Lumabit in 2018 that the developed and produced inquiry-based module will help enhance students' critical thinking and mathematics performance. This is because objectives, content, activities, style and presentation, organization, creativity, and assessment were adequate, sufficient, and appropriate for the intended users. A well-functioning sequence through analysis of the curriculum guide was observed. Thus, the researcher has developed an effective, ready, and usable instructional materials that can be utilized in the classroom to facilitate teaching and learning process and acquiring the necessary knowledge and skills. In answer to objective number 4 on the students' experiences in using the review material, a thematic analysis was utilized. So in this study, 4 BSMT and BSMARC students were interviewed to determine their learning experiences in using the review material. 2 students from each program were chosen, and during the conduct of the interview, the students were allowed to speak in their mother tongue so that they can express their thoughts better. When students were asked about their experiences in the use of the review material in the conduct of review classes, their responses present the idea that the review material was unique and innovative, has immediate feedback, flexible and effective in learning the concepts easily. The students found that the review material is unique because it was their first time to utilize such review material in mathematics. It was also the purpose of the researcher to bring mathematics into life by using illustrations and so many examples. These statements support the findings of Cox in 2017 that students prefer technology and illustrations because they believe that it makes learning more interesting and fun. Subjects that students deem challenging and boring can become more interesting with illustrations. In addition, Robles of 2009 also cited the development of materials in physics could relieve teachers from doing repetitive tasks in classroom activity and further improve the morale, motivation, and retention power of learner. To add, the respondents also agreed that the review material has immediate feedback because of the presence of practice exercises in the form of checkpoints or activity cards that serve as their way of checking their progress across the review material. The key to correction part was also significant since this plays the role of giving the students a good explanation to the practice exercises or the activity cards that enhances students' reflective thinking skills through self-check. And this was supported by what student A shared. These results conform to the quantitative analysis because the students have rated the learning activities and assessment part of the review material as highly acceptable, which is suited to the level of students. Furthermore, these findings agreed with the result of the study of Nardo and Ufana in 2014 that the exposure of the students to appropriate activities heightened their understanding. The result implies that the activities in the review material were suitable for the students. The concepts that were presented were deepened by the tasks that the students work on. It also substantiates the recommendation of Wolfit in 2015 that illustrations should incorporate active elements such as quizzes or be combined with other learning activities. Like with any medium, the content and message has to be constructed well in order to support learning. Sometimes, there are a better format for conveying information, such as comparing multiple examples or dense, detailed content that learners will need to revisit repeatedly. The answers of the respondents boil down to the idea that the review material is indeed effective and flexible review or learning material. The students found it flexible because they can pause whenever they want and effective at the same time because the review material helped them learn the lessons effectively. It further validates the results of the quantitative analysis that the review material was highly acceptable as an instructional material in terms of its different aspects and overall acceptability. These findings attest what Carabolot Elgo et al. In 2017 cited about some benefits of learning like flexibility. An added value was being able to rewatch for the conclusion of the study. First, some maritime students still struggle in plane and spherical trigonometry as evidenced by their least mastered topics since most students do not have the basic knowledge in the high school. Second, the MSAP-based review material has excellently met the standards and no major revision is needed as reflected in the evaluation by the students and experts. Third, the developed MSAP-based review material parts were adequate, sufficient, and appropriate as an intervention material for the intended users and is fitted to help the students learn the concept and skills in plane and spherical trigonometry easily. Last, the review material served its purpose to cater the needs of the maritime students who will be taking the MSAP, which is flexible, innovative, interesting, and acceptable, and be confident in taking the trigonometry component of the MSAP. Based on the findings and conclusions of the study, the following recommendations were made. First, teachers are encouraged to create and develop their own unique version of the review material. They, especially the ones teaching the college students, may utilize intervention-based instructional tools and strategies to provide interesting and meaningful experience to the learners. Second, students, being the main beneficiaries of the study, may not confine their learnings within the four walls of the classroom. Instead, they may explore other means of learning the subject and passing the examinations and assessments. Furthermore, the review material, which is the product of this research, can be used as their guide in the review class for MSAP. Third, textbook writers may consider using the review material as an intervention material aside from the textbooks that they are publishing to better facilitate learning and improve performance of students in mathematics. And last, school administrators, specifically those in the maritime higher education institution, may develop projects such as instructional materials development and enhancement trainings for teachers in terms of pedagogy and instructional materials designed specifically intervention materials, since these elements play a crucial role in improving students' learning and achievement. Thank you for listening and God bless.
Our fourth paper presenter is from John Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Molo, to be presented by Dr. Orlando A. Alimin with a paper entitled Amid the Unthinkable Phenomenological Life World Approach to the Experiences of the Survivors During a Sea Tragedy.
Our study is entitled In the Midst of Unthinkable Phenomenological Life World Approach to the Experiences of the Survivors During the Sea Tragedy. I am the major author, and my co-authors are Professor Maria Cecilia Dutusil Alimin, PhD, full professor from the University of San Agustin, Iloilo City, and also Victor B. Halico, PhD, in charge of the student marketing of John B. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Molo. This is my biodata. The abstract. The aim of this study was to highlight the different experiences of survivors during the Guimaras Iloilo Strait tragedy, Philippines, last August 3, 2019. The researcher used qualitative research design by employing narrative inquiry through the questionnaire, interviews, and documents from the testimonies, social media, newspapers, and radio reports of the survivors. A phenomenological life world approach inspired by the French philosopher Maurice Merleau-Ponty was chosen for the theoretical framework. The findings showed three main features: the motion, the stillness, events before the tragedy, and the change and perspective, event during and after the tragedy in the middle of the sea. The motion comprised of the wave caused by the sudden hour of the wind. The locals called this as pugada, tornado in the sea, and the action it caused the passenger. When the sudden force of the wind and the waves withdrew, it was followed by stillness. The feeling of the unthinkable was present, accompanied by anxiousness endless waiting. Another prominent feature was the passengers' incapacity to answer how long they had suffered before being rescued. The Iloilo-Guimaras Strait tragedy seemed to be a timeless event. Thinking about their loved ones and praying intently meant a change in perspective in one's own shattered world to that of another person. The shift between focus and struggle contributed to the making of life-saving decisions among the survivors themselves and for other survivors. The findings derived from the study were the realization and experiences of the survivors during these times of uncertainty. Description: the August 3, 2019 Iloilo's Guimaras Strait mishap, wherein 3 boats capsized, claimed the lives of 31 people. Such accident has been the focus of the spotlight as the need to clarify and strengthen protocols of the suspension of the motorboats as well as emergency response coordination have been pointed out as being the cause of the casualties. The experiences of the survivors were those of the shock and disbelief, uncertainty, grief and loss, as well as hope and meaning were present. During research, when the pattern of life is shattered and life itself is at stake, needs to be considered. To research this experience might mean going beyond the taken for granted, shaking the shattered when could contain the reflected experience of the sea tragedy. The study aimed to underscore the sudden tragedy and relieve suffering by those who experienced the Guimaras Iloilo Sea tragedy last August 3, 2019. This study explored the situation before and during the sea tragedy. It was deemed that through this investigation, the roles of certain government agencies like Philippine Coast Guard and Marina are implied in the context of sea mishaps that happened, such as Iloilo Guimaras Strait tragedy. The questions. First, what is the situation before the tragedy? Second, what is the situation during and after the tragedy? Third, what strategies have been utilized during the sea tragedy? Fourth, what insights or lessons have been learned from the tragedy? In order to address the 4 questions, the triangulation process was employed by the researchers. Methodology: an exploratory study design inspired by the phenomenology of Merleau-Ponty and Dalberts and Nystrom was chosen. Interviews were conducted by the researchers among the survivors of the sea tragedy. A set of questions containing the open-ended items and document analysis from the television and radio news reports were used in the study. Triangulation of different data was utilized to validate the experiences of the survivors. Results: testimonies were centered on the 3 themes, such as situation and the phenomenon before the tragedy, the motion during the tragedy, and the stillness after the tragedy, and of course, the change of perspective among the survivors and how their experiences after the tragedy. Conclusion: the findings of the study show that the essence of agony in its relief during Guimaras Iloilo Strait tragedy on August 3, 2019. It was a complex of converging experiences between motion and stillness and between changes and perspective. The chosen theoretical framework and the methodology made it possible to some extent reveal the invisible threads between the world of the survivors and the world of the sea tragedy. The context of the survivors' sea tragedy experience is in its phenomenological sense a break in the threads that link to the ordinary life and to the world that is taken for granted. This has shown some kind of order among the pieces of the world of the disaster. The world of the individual is also to some extent brought together. For the conclusion, the implication for concern are first to acknowledge the survivor's sense of time as now. This means that the experience of the sea tragedy will be a faithful follower of the survivors as an embedded in live experience that can be recalled and relived throughout their lives. In the midst of the humanization of the tragedy, a trend of humanity and fulfillment of the love zooms in. This dimension includes part of the very complicated encounter of the tragedy that is most important for local government officials, survivors, agencies concerned, and other individuals, and even educators to recognize and reflect upon the consequences of the tragedy. These are the photos taken during the tragedy. Thank you for listening.
Our sixth paper presenter is from John B. Lacson Foundation Maritime University Graduate School to be presented by Chief Mate Marvin P. Hapitana, PhD, with a paper titled Support Level Competencies of Ratings Under Training to Certification of Rating Forming, part of a Navigational Watch Basis for Onboard Training Portfolio.
To the facilitators of the 4th Colloquium 2020 online, partner agency and organization, Marina, PAMI, WIM, IMO events, guests, friends, fellow presenters, faculty members, family, have a pleasant and good day. I am Dr. Marvin P. Hapitana, a representative of a graduate school, John B. Lacson, Foundation Maritime University, Arevalo Incorporated. I am going to present my dissertation conducted 2 years ago entitled Support Level Competences of Ratings Under Training to Certification of Ratings forming part of a Navigational Watch, RFP-NW, Basis for Onboard Training Portfolio. What made the researcher pursue the study? The following are the very reasons why the study was conducted. Non-navigational watchkeepers belong to one of the general categories of rating as those who are not assigned watchkeeping duties. That is according to the STCW, a guide for seafarers in 2010. There are 3 divisions of how to acquire the qualification for the examination for OIC. First, cadets. You have to earn 12 months under Section 8-2 of the STCW Code with a TRB and daily journal. Ratings with a 36 months, Section 8-2 of the STCW Code and daily journal. For the non-navigational watchkeeper, no COP for ratings, no PS degree, no examination. The study anchored with the support of a legal basis and literature review, such as Republic Act 10635, Marina as Single Administration, and the oversight of the STCW conventions according to Section 2 of the Executive Order 75. There are different organizations under the mandate of the RA 10635, such as CHED, Republic Act 7722, PRC, Republic Act 8544, the NTC, Republic Act 7925, DOH, Republic Act 7160, TESDA, Republic Act 7796, and NTC, the Letter of Informations 1404. And there is also statistics according to Buhay Marino Diario in 2016, that 2010 until 2016, there is an average of 132,770 students enrolled for first year in BSMT. There's also 24,709 students completed the academic requirements, and 7,513 completed the 12-month cadet program. However, in 2016 school year, there is 2,872 out of 87,467 graduated the BSMT degree. To continue, seafarer deployment according to the POEA and BINCO in 2016 statistics. The estimated supply-demand balance for officers. In 2015, supply is 774,000 and the demand is 790,500. There is a shortage of 16,500. And in 2020, there will be a 789,500 for the supply and the demand is 881,500. We have a shortage for the officers with 92,000. And in 2025, this coming 5 years, we have 805,000 supply and we have a demand of 952,500. We have a shortage of officers of 147,500. How can we address the shortages if no chance for the students with the complete academic requirement to become officers if non-navigational ratings cannot acquire the Regulation 2/4 COP for ratings? Well, in fact, according to the Table 2, the estimated largest seafarer supply in countries now is China. China overtook Philippines as the number one suppliers for the seafaring industry. And for the ratings, we have still the Philippines, the top one, China, Indonesia, Russia, and Ukraine. With a thorough review of the literature, the following specific problems were considered as focus of the study. What is the support level competences of ratings under training of the trainees in terms of competence 1, 2, 3, and 4, when taken as an entire group and when classified according to age, position, and seagoing experience? Is there a significant difference in the support level competences of ratings under training of the trainees when classified as to age, position, and sea experience? What onboard training portfolio can be proposed for the STCW certification of the trainees? The study is supported with a research paradigm. There are two variables under this: independent variables and dependent variables. Under the independent variables, we have age, position, seagoing experience. Under the dependent variables, we have the STCW competencies. We have competence number 1, steer the ship and also comply with ELM's orders in the English language. Competence number 2, keep a proper lookout by sight and hearing. Competence number 3, contribute to monitoring and controlling a safe watch. And competence number 4, operate emergency equipment and apply emergency procedures. And the output is the proposed onboard training portfolio. In order to attain the objectives of the study, the researcher made use of the scripted design utilizing survey. Research design, descriptive design utilizing survey, and we have the participants. 152 seafarer respondents randomly selected through convenient sampling from shipping company and maritime institution within Metro Manila. Data gathering instruments used for validating survey questionnaires. We also have the descriptive statistics. Weighted mean. It was used to determine the mean response of the respondents of the study. Percentage of frequency, it was used in profiling respondents. The inferential statistics, t-test, it was used to determine significant differences on the mean response of the respondents when grouped. After conducting the survey, data were organized and analyzed. The following results were obtained. First, on the specific problem number 1, what is the support level competences of ratings under training of the trainees in terms of competences 1, 2, 3, and 4, when taken as an entire group and when classified according to age, position, and sea-going experience? Support level competences ratings under training of the trainees. We have groups from age, position, seagoing experience, and intergroup. Classifications are under the age or younger and older, positions chief cook and messman, seagoing experience shorter and longer. Under the intergroup, there is a mean result of 4.30, which is interpreted into a very high competent. And age, younger, 4.36, which is very high competent. Older, 4.26, which is very high competent. And the positions under chief cook, there is a mean result of 4.29, which is also a very high competent. And for messman is 4.35, which is also very high competent. In seagoing experience, we have shorter period, which is 4.36, and it is interpreted a very high competent. Longer period is 4.26, very high competent. Continuing on the specific problem number 2. The inferential statistics tests a significant difference on the mean response between groups using t-tests. There are 4 competencies, competence 1, 2, 3, and 4, that is classified into age, positions, and C experience. Under the age, younger and older is having a non-significant result. And the position, chief cook and messman is not significant. Seagoing service, shorter and older, not significant. In competence number 2, under age, not significant. Position, not significant. C experience, not significant. Number 3, not significant for age. Positions also not significant. C experience, not significant. And the last competence, there is also no significance under the age. Not significant position. Seagoing experience, not significant. The t-test for independent samples set at the alpha level 0.05 was used for this purpose. To continue, in a specific problem number 3, content of the proposed on-board training portfolio for the STCW certification to trainees. We have Annex 1, task for ratings forming part of a navigational watch under the Function 1, navigations at the support level. And we also have Annex 2, on-board training record portfolio for ratings under training steering record. We also have the last is Annex 3, on-board training record portfolio. We have the STCW duty matrix in order not to violate the MLC provisions for rest periods. After a thorough analysis and interpretation of data, conclusion were made. Here are the conclusions of the study. The support level competencies of the trainees were very high. Trainees have full mastery of the different skills. The age somehow affects the proper lookout by sight and hearing. Seagoing experience somehow affects the competency level of trainees in steering and in watch keeping. Content of the proposed on-board training portfolio for the STCW certifications of the trainees should be included. Annex 1, tasks for ratings forming part of navigation watch. Under Function 1, navigation at the support level. Annex 2, on-board training record portfolio for ratings under training steering record. And the last is the Annex 3, on-board training record portfolio under the STCW duty matrix. With obtained data and conclusion, the following recommended by the researcher. Recommendation: AIMH-EI must create a strategic plan to stringently monitor the cadetship program on board, especially the non-navigational watchkeeper. Shipping companies should cater non-navigational watchkeepers to become ratings under training, completing the training documents without violating company policies and MLC 2006 provisions for rest periods leading for 36 months. Officers or qualified ratings should supervise and assist the training structures to complete the minimum 2-month navigational watchkeeping functions to be qualified for a COP RFPNW under Regulation 2/4. Maritime students should secure the training documents prior embarkation to perform the competence as required in Regulation 2/4 to prevent the illegal acquisition of the COP shore. And the last, administrations and commissions should adopt the on-board training portfolio as to complete the 480 hours as basis for the COP for ratings. Presently, based on the recommendations proposed by the researchers specifically on item number 5, the proposed portfolio has been further enhanced and validated by technical experts and became an on-board training record book apprenticeship deck to be presented to the Commission administration to consider adoption to students who are employed as non-navigational watchkeepers. These are the major references considered by the researcher. And that ends my presentations. Once again, this is Dr. Marvin P. Hapitana from the Graduate School of John B. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Arevalo, Incorporated. Thank you. God bless. Mabuhay ang maritimong industriya.
Our seventh paper presenter is from St. THERESE-MTC Colleges in the Fiesta to be presented by Ms. Annalyn A. Hoover, MBA, with the paper entitled Lived Experiences of AES Scholars.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Annalyn A. Hoover, faculty of St. THERESE-MTC Colleges, La Fiesta Side. My study is entitled Lived Experiences of AES Scholars. AES stands for the late Arturo A. Sebastian, the founder of St. THERESE-MTC Colleges. AES is a scholarship offered to the service students. This is 100% free tuition fee upon presentation of recommendation from the mayor. Each municipality is entitled to one scholar whose school average grade is not lower than 85% and must maintain the same in order to enjoy the scholarship in the succeeding semester until he graduates. And these are the research questions. Number 1. What are the benefits gained by Attorney Arturo A. Sebastian scholars? 2. What are the challenges encountered by Attorney Arturo A. Sebastian scholars? And number 3. How did the Attorney Arturo A. Sebastian Scholarship Program improve the lives of the graduates? The informants of the study were the 5 AES scholars who were graduates of St. THERESE-MTC Colleges. They were purposely chosen by the researchers. They were graduates 3 to 5 years back at the time of the study. The data were gathered through an interview, that's a face-to-face and via Facebook interview. Information from the interviewees were recorded by making handwritten notes and by video taping. The data collected were gathered, encoded, and interpreted using phenomenological and thematic analysis. The research instrument was presented to the member of the research panel and one industry coordinator to ensure the acceptability of the content validity of the instrument. Valuable comments and suggestions for improvement were incorporated in drafting the final instrument. The participants were informed of the nature and purpose of the research, the procedure to be used, the expected benefits to the participants and society. They were given a chance to ask questions to help them understand the purpose of this research. They were informed of all data collection devices and activities. Verbatim transcriptions were made available to the participants. The participants' rights, interests, and wishes were considered first when choices were made regarding reporting the data and final decision regarding the participants' anonymity. These are the 5 participants of the study. Mr. Rodios, a hardworking man. He never stops until he reaches his dreams. He graduated at St. Therese-MTC Colleges as cum laude. He is happy with all the things he possesses right now. Ron Wesley, he is a family-centered person who prioritizes family among everything. A Bachelor of Science in Marine Transportation graduate in St. Therese-MTC Colleges, Mountain, Visayas. Hermione Gramper, beauty blended with brains. That is how she is described by friends and classmates. A great leader of her family. She is now happy and contented. She said, ask guidance from above in all your plans in life. Believe in yourself and be positive always. These are the ingredients in life. Albus Dumbledore is working at Saudi Arabia, a customer service representative. He was an SK chairman during his time and president of the Culinary Society. Harry Potter is employed as a seafarer in a shipping company. He has this pair of glasses to resemble the former Senator Aquino. He had a deep and modulated voice and bird on his face. He likes being challenged or pressured as good. There is no sweet success if there is no failure, he said. What are the benefits gained as AES scholars? AES scholarship taught scholars to be responsible, balance their academics and extracurricular activities. Being a scholar is a privilege to be equipped with knowledge, emotional skills, social skills, and attitude that help them to be versatile in dealing with people. It also helped them to find a better job easily. And now the challenges encountered as AES scholars. Scholars were pressured to maintain good grades, to be excellent and disciplined as a person. They are pressured to give good expectations, not only from their instructors, but also from their families. They find it hard to maintain high grades. They should possess really much endurance, physically and mentally. And how did AES scholarship improve the life of the graduates? Life is not appreciated without hardships and trials. This thing shaped and made the scholars better individually. Being a scholar is their passport to find a better job and achieve their dreams, thus making their lives beautiful. These are the references of the study. And before I end, I would like to acknowledge the following people who made this study and presentation a success. Dr. Maria S. Sarabia, President of St. Therese-MTC Colleges, Mr. John Frederick Sarabia, the Vice President of St. Therese-MTC Colleges, and Dr. Arlene Belawis, the Research Coordinator of La Fiesta San. Thank you so much.
Our 8 paper presenters from John B. Lacson Foundation, Bacolod City. To be presented by Dr. Emelisa T. Estimo with a paper entitled Life Skills of Maritime Students in the Philippines Responding to the Realities of Seafaring.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our study is entitled Life Skills of Maritime Students in the Philippines Responding to the Realities of Seafaring. This paper has been a collaborative effort of John B. Lacson Colleges Foundation, Bacolod, John B. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University, Asian Institute of Maritime Studies, Holy Cross of Davao College Incorporated, and the Lyceum of the Philippines University in Batangas, in collaboration with the Philippine Society for Educational Research and Evaluation. Merchant seafaring has traditionally been associated with high risks of fatal accidents. Seafarers are beset by personal and work-related issues such as stress and fatigue, shortage of workforce, heavy workloads, increased demand in standards of training, homesickness, anxiety, threats on safety and security, incidents of depression leading to suicidal behavior, health risks, differences in racial, cultural, and social orientation, work discrimination, and interpersonal as well as intrapersonal conflicts involved. According to several literature, the shipping industry needs to breed marine officers who do not only possess the technical competence and skills, but also life skills or people skills in order to cope, survive, and respond to the harsh realities of seafaring. This study is anchored on the developmental life skills theory of Pickelsheimer and Gazda, who identified four main dimensions of life skills, namely the interpersonal communication or the human relation skills, problem solving or decision making skills, physical fitness and health maintenance, and identity development or purpose in life. The paper is also anchored on the social learning theory of Bandura, on the MLC 2006, particularly on healthy lifestyle and wellness among seafarers, and on the STCW as amended in 2010 in Manila, specifically on competency that contributes to the effective human relationship. The study has three main objectives. The first one is to determine the level of life skills of maritime students in the four dimensions when taken as a whole and when grouped according to academic classification, course choice, indulgence in smoking, and indulgence in drinking hard liquor. Second, to find out if a significant difference exists in the level of life skills of maritime students in the four dimensions when grouped according to the aforementioned variables. And third, to distinguish which of the four dimensions can best predict the life skills of maritime students. For the methods, this descriptive comparative study made use of a life skills inventory adapted from Pickelsheimer and Gasta in 1996 and administered it to a sample of 1,772 maritime students from all year levels enrolled in the BSMT and the BS-MARE programs from the four selected maritime institutions. As for the statistics, mean, Mann-Whitney U-test, and multiple regression analysis were used to analyze the data. The overall results on the life skills of maritime students showed that maritime students from the four maritime institutions have a high level of life skills. Furthermore, a comparison of the means between scholars and the non-scholars. As you can see in this graphical presentation, shows that the non-scholars have registered a higher mean in terms of, in their life skills. Furthermore, when students were classified according to whether it was their personal choice to choose the course or whether it has been influenced by their parents, the second graphical presentation shows that in terms of the means, students who made the course as their personal choice show a higher level of life skills as compared to those whose parents chose the course for them. Comparing between the smokers and the non-smokers, the first graphical presentation shows that the non-smokers have a higher level of life skills as against those of students who are smoking. In terms of indulgence in drinking, the non-drinkers show a higher level of life skills as compared to those who drink or who engage in drinking. Testing further, the study revealed that a significant difference exists on the dimension of problem solving or decision making between scholars and non-scholars in favor of the non-scholars. Next, students who took the maritime course as a personal choice or those not dictated by their parents were found to be better on the dimension of physical fitness or health maintenance. Moreover, students who do not smoke nor drink hard liquor were found to have better life skills in all the 4 dimensions. Among the 4 dimensions, it is the interpersonal communication or the human relation skills that plays as the best predictor of students' life skills. Results revealed that 91% of the variations of life skills can be attributed to interpersonal communication or human relations. For the conclusion, first, it can be said that the maritime students of the 4 maritime institutions that have been involved in the study possess the necessary life skills in all the 4 dimensions. However, there's still a big room for improvement on these aspects. Next, whoever chooses the seafaring course for the students, as well as whether or not they smoke or drink hard liquor, have some bearing on their development of life skills. And finally, to ensure a better acquisition of life skills, maritime students need to be properly trained to develop interpersonal communication or human relation skills, as it shares the biggest influence in the development of their life skills. Based on the findings and conclusions made from the study, it is recommended that maritime institutions should continue to enhance instruction, provide more challenging learning activities that build interpersonal skills, develop problem-solving or decision-making skills relevant to real-life situations on board, strengthen health policy by integrating health and wellness activities that promote healthy lifestyles, and finally, provide a life skills training program that will help shape and develop better life skills among our students who will be our future marine officers. Having said that, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone for listening to this presentation. Good afternoon.
Our final paper presenter is from St. Therese-MTC Colleges, Magdalo, to be presented by Chief Mate Ray G. Langrio, MMM, with a paper entitled Motivation and Expectations of Students Pursuing Maritime Education.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to present a research paper entitled Motivation and Expectation of Students Pursuing Maritime Education. My name is Chief Mate Ray Gonzalez Langreo, and presently I am connected at St. Therese-MTC College's Magdalo site. So this is the glimpse of the campus where I am working. This is located at the Magdalo Street, La Paz, Iloilo City. Iloilo is known for its Dinagyang Festival, and also it is known for old churches, beaches. At present, I am the site representative of the St. Therese-MTC College's Magdalo site, at the same time the Dean of the College of Maritime Education Programs. For the importance of research, the result of the study will help the students come up with a globalization of maritime education and profession. Moreover, it will help them to be informed on the expectation in pursuing maritime education and what should be done to motivate them despite of vague backgrounds of maritime industry. The result of this study will also help the parents on how to support their children pursuing their education. The support includes financial, emotional, etc. The study will also help or guide instructors on nurturing the minds of the students to cope up with the development of maritime education. For the theoretical framework, the study is anchored in the theory of Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory. It is a learning theory based on the ideas that people learn by watching what others do, and that human thought processes are central to understanding personality. For analytical framework, independent variables are degree program and year level. For the degree program, we have the BSMT or the Bachelor of Science in Marine Transportation and the Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering. For the year level, we have the first year, second year, and third year. Dependent variables are motivation in pursuing maritime program and expectation in pursuing maritime program, which are categorized into personal, social, and financial. For the objective of the study was conducted to know what are the motivations and expectations of students at St. Therese-MTC College's Magdalo site in pursuing maritime degree when grouped according to degree program and year level. For methodology, quantitative method of research was used to determine the motivation and expectation of students pursuing maritime education. This descriptive research aims to ascertain students' motivations and expectations in maritime education. It was conducted on June for school year 2019-2020. The investigations were utilized a total of 100 students from different maritime education programs and are selected through random sampling. For the results and discussion, Table 2 shows the motivations of students in pursuing maritime education. Results reveal that the students are motivated in pursuing maritime education because of their parents, which ranks first, which has a mean of 4.80, followed by practicality or passion for traveling, which has a mean of 4.77. And third is to develop leadership, which has a mean of 4.74. This table shows the expectation of students in pursuing maritime education. Results indicated that among of the expectations of the students to study hard ranks first, which is a mean of 4.78, followed by to go on apprenticeship after CAR or completed academic requirements with a mean of 4.76, followed by to pass the board exam and to complete training, which is a mean of 4.62. So this study shows that the parents or the number one motivation of maritime students in pursuing maritime profession. It is every dream of a maritime student that someday they could return all the hard work and hardship of their parents to send them to school. And of course, for second, their passion for traveling. That's why they said that being a seafarer will give you an opportunity to travel around the world for free. And of course, to develop leadership. And for the expectation of students in pursuing maritime education, what are really the things which are expected them to do to pursue a maritime education? 1. It is expected for them to study hard. Second, it is expected for them to go for apprenticeship after completing the academic requirements or completing the classroom instructions. And of course, after their cadetship, they are expected to pass the board examination and also to complete all their trainings. For conclusion and recommendation, based on the data gathered, the findings of the present investigation were there were more BSMT respondents compared to BS-MARE. In motivation of students pursuing maritime education, the parents got highest rank with a mean of 4.80, which is highly motivated. And expectations of students pursuing maritime education to study hard got the highest rank with a mean of 4.78, which is highly motivated. And there is a significant relationship between the level of motivation and level of expectation of maritime students in pursuing maritime education. In view of the findings, the following conclusions were drawn. Further, the expectation and motivation of maritime students show that BSMT are highly motivated in pursuing the maritime courses, even though the BS-MARE students are motivated to choose the maritime program. The null hypothesis is rejected that there is no significant relationship between the level of motivation and level of expectation of maritime students in pursuing maritime education. So in the light of the findings, conclusions and implications were drawn. The following recommendations are given. For the students, the result of the study will help them to come up with globalization of maritime education. Moreover, it will help them to be informed of the expectation in pursuing maritime education and what should be done to motivate them despite a vague background of maritime industry. So for the acknowledgement, I would like to thank our college president, Dr. Maria Teresa S. Sarabia, for all the support that you have given us while conducting this research. So to all of you, thank you very much and mabuhay ang marinong Filipino.
Thank you, paper presenters. Here are the rules and guidelines for the virtual poster presentation. First, the virtual poster must be one page. Additional pages will not be accepted. Second, virtual posters must be created using the templates attached. Third, the maximum width is 48 inches, the maximum height is 36 inches, the templates attached are formatted to this size. Fourth, the file size may not exceed 25 megabytes. And fifth, all files must be saved and submitted as PDF. The virtual poster software does not recognize any other file formats. Here are the entries to the virtual poster presentation. A proposed module for the development of resiliency among the company-sponsored cadets at John D. Lacson Foundation, Maritime University by Alvon M. Manosa. Adopt a tree program of the Maritime University. Learnings and challenges towards environmental education and global warming mitigation by Robert A. Parsha, MMM, and Dr. Rolando A. Alimin. Utilization of stakeholder satisfaction results of the Maritime University in South Asia by Dr. Jasper J. Victoriano and Dr. Rolando A. Alimin. Women empowerment in leading environmental education and waste management among mothers in the Maritime University by Dr. Rolando A. Alimin, Emily R. Portal, MA, Dr. Maria Eddie A. Shah, Camila Jill R. Belandres, MA Ed, and Dr. LCF Gansha. Lifelong learning and work-life balance among faculty members at John D. Lacson Foundation Maritime University, Molo Incorporated by Ivy D. Santa Ana, Dr. Noni C. Maravilla, and Dr. Cynthia T. Kirimit. From St. THERESE-MTC Colleges, Tigbawan, Iloilo. Employer satisfaction on the graduates' performance of St. THERESE-MTC Colleges by Engineer Herbert Rex L. Capalia, MA Ed. From John D. Lacson Foundation Maritime University, Arevalo. Teachnology, the impacts of technology-assisted instruction on the academic performance and satisfaction of selected maritime students by Mary May June P. Esmaya, Epime Frial, and Cecilia C. Salinas. From John B. Lacson Foundation Maritime University Graduate School, Molo. Hyotagogy, as determinant of graduate attributes basis for intervention program by Dr. Maria Elna A. Taronas. Safe working practices in ship operations among seafarers on coastwise vessels in the Philippines, basis for maritime curriculum enhancement by Chief Mate Nelson S. Ibiota, PhD. From St. THERESE-MTC Colleges, La Fiesta, Molo. Level of practices in minimizing food leftovers among selected carinderias in Iloilo City by Jeneline D. Masgong, ME. For the closing remarks, let's listen to the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions Research Committee Chairman, Captain Luis G. Evidente.
Today has indeed been very successful. It has been what we call the fourth
gathering wherein we were able to listen and also to be able to be enlightened by our distinguished speakers and presenters today. It has been no less than a privilege to be able to present for those presenters, to listen to those of us who listen, and to be motivated to those of us who need to learn from what we have heard. This also triggers leading us towards immersion studies, answers to our questions, and to things that may probably come to mind later on. These ideas towards sustainability, survivability, creativity will make us blend towards the future. Let us have a resolve then to blend, to adjust, and be flexible to today's challenges, foremost among which is a new normal society. I would like to congratulate all presenters and organizers for today's event, and likewise would like to thank PAMI, would like to thank MARC, and would also like to thank Marina for such a privilege. Thank you and have a blessed day. Please stay safe, everyone.
That concludes the virtual poster presentation. All the comments and suggestions of the panel of reviewers will be forwarded to the research presenters. May I also remind all the paper presenters that the e-certificates will be sent through your email address after answering the evaluation. Tokens will be wired to your respective accounts. In behalf of the Philippine Association of Maritime Institutions, ARNET Visayas, and the Women in Maritime Philippines Western Visayas chapter, we would like to thank the organizers of this 4th Visayas Maritime Research Cooperation Colloquium Online 2020. This has been your host, Greg Sunier, and see you next year.